Lift yourself out of this fancy auditorium and plunge into the Pacific Ocean. You are a baby coral reef fish. Life started when you hatched out of an egg on a coral reef, and as you took your first gulps of water, you were carried out on the ocean currents into the deep blue sea. You grew up here for a few weeks, and now you're big and strong, and at the size of a mighty tic-tac, you're ready to come back to a coral reef and take on the world. But how are you going to get there? Because this isn't Finding Nemo. The friendly sea turtles aren't going to point you in the right direction. This is the real world. And you are a very small fish in a very big ocean. You can't see a reef. They're too far away. You can't smell a reef. The current's going in the wrong direction. But you can hear a reef. They're really noisy places. Turtles crunch, shrimp snap their claws, fish whoop and grunt and chatter and buzz. Julie Andrews should have had a snorkel, because the reefs are alive with the sound of music. Sound travels far underwater, and so you can hear your way home. Or can you? I'm a marine biologist. I study the sound of Australia's Great Barrier Reef using underwater microphones, and my most recent recordings reduced me to tears. In the last 5 years, climate change has decimated my reefs. Cyclones have smashed them to pieces. Marine heat waves have cooked the corals. The animals of that underwater orchestra are dead, and their once joyful chorus is a quarter of its previous volume. The symphony of the sea is being silenced. You can't hear your way home anymore. You're lost in the blue. Now that's depressing, but I don't study coral reefs so I can tell you depressing stories. I study them because I care, and I study them because the more we understand, the better we can protect them. For instance, we now know that these degraded reefs are too quiet, right? So can we use loudspeakers to call the fish back in? To test that idea, I did an experiment where I built lots of artificial coral reefs all around a bay, and on some of them, I used a loudspeaker to play the sound of a normal degraded reef. But on other ones, I played the sound of a healthy reef, and when I played that healthy sound, I got 40% more fish coming back, with a 25% increase in diversity. That could make a difference. Those fish, through their grazing, can clear away algae, they can allow new corals to grow, that might speed up recovery processes, and they might restore the rhythm of the reef. So yes, coral reefs are in crisis. Yes, it's heartbreaking, and you can hear it happening. But with new research comes new understanding and the potential for new solutions. So as we look to the future, let's learn to listen. Thank you. Thank you.
Tim, you nearly brought a tear to my eye.
Because he said Nemo.
Because he said Nemo. I love Nemo. It was a great film. That's right. I love snorkeling, and it is amazing when you go over the top of a reef, because you're just drowned in this sound. And the first time you ever come across it, it's quite an alien sound. It's sort of inside your head, it's so loud. But there must be different elements within the sound that they're attracted to, because there's the waves on the rock, there's different fish that will make different sounds. Which particular sounds are the ones that's pulling the fish in?
That's a brilliant question.
Oh, thank you.
No, it really is. I'm glad you asked it, because it's a question that I'm trying to answer myself at the moment with the experiments that I'm doing. So I'm doing another experiment, but because it's important, right? Because if we want to use sound to bring the fish back, we need to know what the most attractive sounds are. So the way we do that is we interview the fish, but we can't talk to the fish. So what we do is we build a big sort of polythene tube, okay? And it's sort of from here, maybe to about here, right? And where you are, I'll put a loudspeaker, okay? And I'll play a noise. And then I'll drop a fish into the middle of the tube, and I'll see what it does. I'll see if the fish swims towards you or not, right? And if the sound I'm playing from you isn't very attractive, we're expecting that fish to swim towards you about 50% of the time, because it's got a choice, one way or the other, right? And then I get on my computer and I change the sound. I put in some extra fish noises, or I turn the shrimps down a bit, or, we call it the Reef DJ experiment, because that's essentially what we're doing. And we play around with the different types of sound and see how that affects the response of the fish in the tube. So I've got some initial results.
And what is the key sound? I want to know now.
Interestingly to me, I thought the key sound's going to be the fish, right?
Yeah,
Fish like
yeah,
the sound
they
of
make
other fish.
He's got to do the
It
sound.
turns
I showed you
out,
the sound.
I don't think that's the case. So I think at the moment the key sound is actually the shrimp, which is interesting to me. And thinking about it, I think it's maybe because they make what we call a broadband sound. So the sound of a shrimp snapping its claw is one of the
You're going to
loudest.
have to, Artie, can you do the sound for us? So that you,
I mean, it's just like a sort of...
We've had an orgasmic
You know, it sounds nothing like a black hole, if that's what you're asking. And I think because it covers such a wide frequency range, that sound, it's probably audible to a wide range of hearing abilities and a wide range of different fish.
And my last question, if I can be allowed. Do the fish have a wide range of hearing abilities? Because they're incredibly sensitive, the fish they're hearing, and quite remarkably so, but they must have differences.
Yes, they do. Different fish have quite different hearing abilities.
And what's kind of frequency ranges?
So when we're talking about these baby fish, they're about sort of 0 to about 3,000 hertz. So quite a narrow. That's narrower than our. To put that in context for you, your hearing range is from 20 to 20,000 hertz. So fish are only from about 0 to 3,000. So quite a narrow band we're looking at. But it depends what type of fish. So some fish just have bony structures in their ears, and they hear like that. They're called otoliths. And if you get a whole fish in a restaurant and you go digging around in the skull with your knife, you can pull out a fish's otolith. Your dinner friends sometimes don't thank you for doing it. But another fish also have a swim bladder. And fish with a swim bladder, that's this bag of air near their stomach. And the sound wave hits the swim bladder, the air vibrates, and that allows them to hear as well. Sorry.
I recently watched a documentary about sort of fish farming and how that affects like the natural fish population. Do you think that by having the sound of a really nice, healthy reef nearby might affect and detract from other coral reefs sort of elsewhere and sort of kill off the remaining fish and those by attracting them towards somewhere else?
Okay, really short answer. Maybe it's kind of like the Pied Piper. We don't want to call the children away from their village and move them somewhere else. So we would think carefully about where we deployed this as a solution.
I just can ask you a really quick question.
You weren't. The reefs were alive with the sound of
He asked three questions.
Yeah, you ran out of time. It's only fair. We have to do that. Sorry, Artie. Can we one more time, please? Thanks.
Thank you.